Hi there. The time has come. It's time for my Q&A video. Now, I am a little disappointed. I got an okay amount of questions, but just not a lot of people were asking. It was more like a small group of people asking multiple questions. But hey, I got questions. That's all I really asked for. I'll work with what I got. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Starting us off, from Comrade Roderick over at Lefty Vlogs. His first question: what kind of films do you like to watch? Let's see. I like comedies. I like documentaries, depending on the kind of documentary. I don't like docu-series that are like that Tiger King bullshit. Um, Dark Side of the Ring, which is a Vice thing, they explore all the crazy backstage, like the more controversial aspects of wrestling and the culture and shit like that. I like that. I like, documentaries about socialist countries and whatnot, and socialist movements, labor movements, indigenous movements, all that kind of shit. Uh, I like some thrillers. Like, let's see. I saw Shutter Island a few years ago. I like that. I haven't seen it in a while, so for all I know, it might not hold up from the last time I saw it 5 or 6 years ago. But I liked it when I saw it. I think that's about it for films. I like movies, but I'm not like a movie buff. I don't focus solely on movies. I watch a lot more like TV and internet stuff than I do movies. But I'm never against, just sitting down and watching a movie, if it's at least interesting enough to me. His second question: who really influenced you to come to communism? Okay, so I'll just use this as an opportunity to basically tell my political evolution story. For the longest time, at least in high school, I was like a pissed off new atheist radlib. I didn't really like Obama, but I wasn't against him. I was like, oh, fuck Mitt Romney, fuck John McCain, that kind of thing. I watched like The Amazing Atheist and Cult of Dusty and a bunch of other shit like that, all the pissed off new atheists. I was into that. But my senior year of high school is when I was introduced to Bernie Sanders, which I know a lot of people have this similar story, or at least a similar situation where they started seeing Sanders in the news, or they discussed it in school, and they did his rhetoric and just his energy, his charisma, kind of just it drew you in. It drew you in, and I considered myself a follower of Bernie Sanders. I liked Bernie Sanders. I'm still not 100% against him. I'm very critical of him, but I'm not 100% against him. But it went from being a Bernie Sanders fan, and there was somebody I used to be friends with, and they started introducing me to like anarcho-communism and showing me all these different things about how like anarcho-capitalism is just a giant pile of dog shit. I never really considered myself an anarchist in any way, but they were introducing me to more radical stuff, more anti-capitalist things. And then that slowly progressed into me becoming a Marxist, and they were a Marxist as well. They were sending me, recommended books to read and videos to watch. The first time I ever read the Communist Manifesto, I took it out of my high school library. My copy of the Communist Manifesto that I own is the one that I took from my library. Same with my copy of Mao's Little Red Book. But they got me started reading like Marx and Engels and Lenin, and they were sending me. I mean, this was years ago, so this was before it was outed that he was a fucking weirdo. But like the Finnish Bolshevik, Democratic Socialist 01. I don't watch him anymore, but Zexazy. I watch Democratic Socialist 01 still, but I don't watch Zexazy anymore. But I was watching him at the time. Jason, he was just sending me a bunch of like Tanky Tube, Left Tubers, and other documentaries and whatnot. And basically, in the span of a year and a half, I went from just a Bernie bro to a fucking Marxist-Leninist, a tanky, if you will. I was like learning about Maoist China and the Soviet Union and the DPRK and stuff, and I was really getting into like anti-imperialism and whatnot. And just in the span of a year, like I said, I went from essentially a social democrat, democratic socialist, to a tanky. That's about it. There haven't really been many developments. I mean, I've been trying to study more like decolonization and stuff like that, but other than that kind of thing, I've just maintained a status as a Marxist-Leninist since I was like 19, maybe 18. Okay, and the last question from Comrade Roderick: what are your favorite foods? That's a little tough, because my palate ranges from like a 5-year-old's to somebody actually trying to learn how to cook and try new shit. Because, I like pizza, I like burgers. I like hot dogs. Uh, I like fucking brownies and shit. I like all this shitty food that you really shouldn't eat too much of. But I'm also trying to like eat more healthy shit. I like fruit cups. They started off tasting like ass to me, but they've just kind of grown on me. I like oranges. I like apples. I like celery. I like carrots. I'm trying to learn how to cook more too. There's a couple of recipes that they're very easy, so I already know them off the bat, or at least from like looking at the cookbook that I have. But I am trying to cook more. Like there's this spicy black bean with onion and garlic thing that I make, or is it bacon? There's bacon in it, but otherwise it's just all vegetables, and it's pretty good. There's also a kielbasa recipe I have that's pretty good. I, it's weird to like really try to pin down a favorite food because, like I said, my palate is a mix between just a 5-year-old that just wants to eat all this salty, sweet, disgusting, gross junk food, or somebody that actually wants to learn how to cook and eat healthier snacks and food and whatnot. So I have a very broad range of foods that I like. I don't really know if I have an absolute favorite. I think if I really had to narrow it down, I would go with either veggie burgers, venison, or maybe corn on the cob. Corn on the cob is so fucking good, man. If you prepare that shit right, it is delicious. All right, our next set of questions comes from Eli Watson, or Ellie Watson, whichever is the correct name. First one, how do you feel about your old videos, and are there any you wish you could change? Well, that depends what you mean by old videos. If you mean my really old ones, like before I was making communist content, like, oh, there was a Monsters vs. Aliens television show on Nickelodeon? How fucking stupid. Or, oh, I'm only 16, but I can definitely prove to you that God doesn't exist. I'm just glad that shit is gone. I mean, I made a lot of good friends doing those videos. A lot of them I still talk to today. But I'm just glad those videos are gone because they just... All they do is show a pissed off, new atheist radlib ranting about shit that ultimately doesn't fucking matter. Now, if you mean my communist content, yeah, there are maybe a couple I wish I could have done better. Like, I have 2 videos that are like, oh, these are the worst products of capitalism. It really doesn't contribute anything to the discussion because I'm just being petty, like, oh, moon shoes were fucking dumb, right? Bacon-flavored toothpaste, that's pretty fucking stupid. I mean, it is a critique of, like, just how people will make fucking anything to make money under capitalism and how some of that shit is just so stupid and useless. Like, why would you need to make it in any other context? But it's really, other than that, it's just kind of petty, like, hey, these are stupid products. Ha ha ha. Is there any more that I wish I could change? I don't think so. Maybe if I look back, I can see some more of them. Like, man, I really wish I recorded that better or worded that better. But my video on Posadism, I wish that I pronounced his name correctly. And the thing is, I did. When I said Juan Posadas, I said his name correctly. But every time I said Posadism, I said Posadism, like a fucking idiot. I took Spanish for 2 years, and I didn't retain a lot of it, but I at least know how to pronounce shit, and I still completely fuck it up. So if I could redo that and actually pronounce his name correctly, I would love to do that. Next question. Do you feel the mechanisms used to bring about revolution in the past could still be used today, or do new ways of changing society need to be looked at? I personally struggle to imagine a 1917 or 1949 style revolution happening anywhere in the Western world today. That is a quandary. I do believe we still need to have a vanguard party and, establish a dictatorship of the proletariat. We just need to smash all of the existing mechanisms of capitalism for the sake of a worker-controlled socialist government. But that is interesting because, and they don't necessarily qualify as the Western world, but let's look at like Venezuela and Bolivia. Venezuela is working to establish socialism through the Bolivarian Revolution, which is mainly a democratic process. And I appreciate the work of Nicolas Maduro and, Venezuela in general, but look at how fucking turbulent that has been. There's been the Guaido fucking situation. There's been numerous assassination attempts and all the sanctions and shit. And I mean, whether you do it like DPRK style socialism or Venezuela, you're gonna have sanctions. I don't think there's a fucking socialist country, or at least one that's aiming for socialism, that exists today that isn't being slapped with a bunch of fucking sanctions and all that other kind of shit. But there just needs to be different ways of going about certain things. Like, let's see, the electoralism. It's good to be involved in electoral politics, but it's not something that can be, like, relied on. You can't rely on, oh, we're going to vote in socialism, like what they're doing in Venezuela. It's good, but it's not going to fucking work if you don't have an actual proletarian government, a proletarian dictatorship. Like, with Evo Morales. It's good that the movement for socialism is back in power, but he was couped. And for a good year and a half or so, there was a bunch of fucking neoliberal austerity thrown back into Bolivia. It's a complicated situation. I do think there need to be new methods used, or at least new adaptations to, like, electoralism, but I'm not sure if we need to really deviate extremely from the lessons of, like, Lenin and Mao and Marx and whatnot. Definitely we need to address our own conditions and what will work in our own conditions. But it's not like I get what you're saying. We can't do, like, a Soviet-style revolution. We can't do a China-style revolution. There's going to be a different style of the American Revolution. And I feel like that's going to be like a hybrid almost of electoral politics and militarism, or at least militancy. You know, fucking, because we've got, like, all these different communist parties. So many of them just need to fucking shut the fuck up and merge to have an actual united front. And I don't mean like, oh, let's all just join the fucking DSA, or let's all just join the CPUSA. I mean, like, if we could just get the PSL and the Workers' World Party and the American Party of Labor, and hell yes, even the fucking DSA and the CPUSA, they'll all just fucking come together and say, fuck you, none of this is working, we are taking the fuck over, and if you don't like it, then too fucking bad. But I don't know. It's a complicated situation. I think there are adaptations and different approaches that need to be taken, but I don't think we need to stray from the lessons of, like, State and Revolution and the foundations of Leninism and the critique of the Gotha program and shit like that, right? I just think we can have a revolution in some way, shape, or form without necessarily completely deviating from the lessons of Lenin and Mao and Marx and Stalin and whatnot. Is that to say we should just copy them verbatim? No, because like I said, material conditions, different situations, completely different time periods, right? But I think it could happen. I think it could happen at some point. Maybe not when I am physically able to be a part of it, but I think at least before I die. Maybe I'm just being a little too hopeful and optimistic for that, but I think at least before I die, unless I die young, that I could fucking at least witness revolution. Maybe not be a part of it necessarily, in case, I'm just too fucking old. But I do think maybe before I'm in the ground that there could be a revolution in the US. Or just in the West in general. Maybe like in Canada or something like that. Or somewhere else in Europe. I don't know. It's an interesting thing to look at, though. It is an interesting thing to think about. And Eli's last question, or Ellie's last question, my apologies. What's the best fast food restaurant and why is it Fatburger? Well, I can't say that it's Fatburger because I don't have one near me. I didn't even know that this existed until you made this comment. Where I live in the Northeast, and at least in my state, I don't live fucking anywhere near a lot of shit that I've even seen advertised. I don't live near a Long John Silver's, or a Jack in the Box, or a Hardee's, or In-N-Out, or any of that kind of shit. Fucking, I think there was a Popeyes like 20 minutes away from me for a while, but I want to say like 4 to 6 months before the pandemic, or maybe right at the start of the pandemic, it just kind of went kaput. It just kind of fucking shut down. But I can't say it's Fatburger. I guess if I really had to narrow it down, it would be a battle between Taco Bell and, it would either be Taco Bell or Wendy's, I want to say. Because I like Burger King and McDonald's too, but like they're so common and so fucking, because there's a McDonald's right in the town that I live in, so it's like I could walk down there. Taco Bell, no, you know what? Fuck it. It's Taco Bell. Taco Bell is the best fast food. You know why? Because it's technically one of the healthiest fast foods you can eat, because most of the stuff isn't fried. It's actually like cooked in like a pan or baked or anything like that. And 2, quesaritos are a fucking godsend. That's why it's Taco Bell. Quesaritos and the fact that it's semi-healthier than like McDonald's and fucking Five Guys and shit like that. Five Guys is good too. I have one near me, but I haven't been to that in like years, so I really can't say whether or not it's in like the top 5, whatever. But for now, Taco Bell. This next question is one that my good friend Nate sent me. Do you agree all Americans should team up and never pay the IRS and don't file taxes again? Explain why you agree or disagree. Well, I'm not against taxes per se. I'm against the use of them right now. You know, oh yeah, you pay all these taxes so we can imprison people for very minor weed offenses, non-violent offenses, or oh, you pay all these taxes so we can pay $6 trillion fucking dollars to bomb Syria and Iran and shit. I'm not a fan of how they're used today, or give all these subsidies to billionaires. I'm not a fan of how they're used. But I don't think that's necessarily the answer to what I know you're trying to get to. In the short term, we would need to establish something where like the taxes are actually used for what they're supposed to be fucking used for. Improving infrastructure, improving life for people, you know, making sure people can actually get health care and dental care and, you know, have like good fucking public transit and shit like that. But I don't necessarily think that this should just be, oh, let's all just stop taxes. Let's just never pay the IRS. Because that's not a long-term solution. That's just how you end up with, like, fascism. Because they'll be like, oh, well, you're not going to fucking pay us? Here, we'll send death squads, and now you're going to fucking pay us. I might be getting a little hyperbolic there, but it's not the answer. Just not paying taxes isn't the answer, because at least under the system that we live in, they are supposed to serve a purpose that helps people, and they don't. Like I said before, we need to establish a worker-controlled government that actually pays people for the full extent of their labor power and actually guarantees shit like good public transportation, healthcare, housing, that kind of shit. That actually allows the working class to have some kind of actual fucking autonomy. Not just don't pay taxes. I get what you're saying here, and I can sympathize with that, but no, man, I don't think the answer is just to not pay taxes. I think the answer is to establish an entirely new order of how society is run. And, you know, in before all these fucking New World Order fucking conspiracy theorists go, I don't mean fucking Illuminati bullshit. I mean socialism. I mean socialism on the road to communism. Not some stupid fucking Bill Gates is a Marxist trying to inject me with microchips type shit, right? But no, I don't think the answer is to just not pay the IRS. Would it have some effects? Yeah, I think so, but I don't think it's the answer. I think we need to actually establish a government for the actual working people that doesn't work for the benefit of a select few. Like I said, I get what you're saying, but it's not the correct tactic to utilize. Alright, our last set of questions comes from PLK. Do you watch any anime or read manga? If so, any favorites? When I was a kid, I liked Bleach and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood and Naruto, especially Naruto. I don't really watch any anime or read any manga now, but I was really into Naruto. Like, I still have a Leaf Village headband and a fucking little, like, plastic and foam kunai. I don't really break them out, you know, because I'm not a fucking weeb, per se. If you like that shit, I'm not knocking you, but just I'm not in that camp. But I do still have some of the video games. Those never stop being fun to me. I have Clash of Ninja 2 on the GameCube, and I have Ultimate Ninja Storm 1 and 4 on my Xbox. I need to get 2 and 3 so I can actually understand the fucking story. Which, honestly, if I want to understand the story, I really should, just watch fucking the original Naruto and Shippuden and shit. But I don't know. Maybe someday I will, but right now I just can't be bothered. I also used to have the first Clash of Ninja and Clash of Ninja Revolution 1 and 2. But the first Clash of Ninja sucks because the story mode only goes up to like right before the Chunin exams happen, so after they meet Rock Lee, it just ends. Like, okay, so I have 8 characters to pick from in this fighting game in like 2005. Cool. That doesn't suck. And the first Clash of Ninja Revolution, it's not bad, but I think just the controls weren't as good as the second one. The second one really like perfected how to do shit with the Wii and whatnot in a fucking Naruto fighting game. Plus the character selection was a lot better. I mean, the character selection in some of these newer games is good, but just like I said, I don't know who fucking half of them are. Like especially in Ultimate Ninja Storm 4. Like who I know who Obito and Madara are, but it's like who the fuck is the Mitsukage or some shit? I just don't know half the characters anymore. If I want to learn that shit, I'll rewatch it, but right now I just can't be fucked. Their next question. Thoughts on what may come in the Biden administration? The same old shit. We've already seen the same old shit. I know this was from a while ago, like a couple weeks, but we've already been seeing the same old shit. Bombing Syria. Completely fucking, oh, we're going to raise the minimum wage in 5 years. It's going to be $15 in 5 years when it'll need to be like fucking 35, 40 to even be like an actual livable wage. Because they've been fighting for 15 for a pretty long time now. And with inflation and all that bullshit, 15 is basically going to be like $10 in, fucking 2025. I don't know. I'm not a fucking economist or anything, but I know the cost of living going up. $15 an hour is still not going to be a fucking enough by the time they actually want to pass this. Let's see. They're still going to try to fucking fuck with Venezuela, and they're fucking with Iran. In a few weeks, I'm having a discussion on Venezuela with a comrade from India, so we're going to be working on that. I'm going to be getting a lot more in-depth on that with, like, Biden's approach and everything. But just, the Biden administration is just the same old shit. He's basically the reincarnation of George W. Bush, and even though he's reversed some Trump-era policies, he's also continued a lot of them too. So, again, the same old shit. Alright, third question. Now that Trump has lost a focal point in American politics, do you see the black bloc becoming less relevant? Maybe. I don't know. Because I know a lot of people were just outraged against Trump and it was all just performative bullshit. So, oh, now that Biden's in the office, we can just stop caring. So, maybe. I don't know. With like the CPAC shit, I know that stuff still has a major following. And they're still like, oh, big bad Antifa. And Biden is a fucking Marxist-Leninist who wants to bow to the Chinese government and shit like that. But I don't know about the black bloc. Maybe it'll lose some relevance because, now it's going to be like, oh, look at Biden, this fucking liberal. It's not going to be like, oh my god, Antifa on the news all the time. But I think we're still going to see a good chunk of that, especially with, Ted Cruz just slowly, not really slowly anymore, but just really revealing himself to just be a fucking outright fascist. The Trump bullshit, PragerU, TPUSA, there's all going to be this bullshit about how fucking, all the anarchists want to back Biden and that kind of dumb shit. So the black bloc maybe will lose some relevancy, but I don't think it's going to fade away in the discourse and whatnot. Let's see, next one. Thoughts on the Cultural Revolution. The Cultural Revolution can be a can of worms for some people. I have a mixed opinion on it. I recognize that in some ways, trying to change culture to really value, socialism and the working people and societal progression is a good thing. But I kind of take the point that Deng Xiaoping and Xi Jinping and whatnot have upheld. It had some mistakes. It was pretty ultra in some aspects. I just think it could have been done better. Like how they're doing it now. Call me a Dengist if you fucking want, but I think the way they're doing it, we're like embracing, traditional cultures while also pushing for societal progression and advancement of people. I think that's the more correct approach. I know what Mao and the CPC at that time was trying to do, and I recognize that, and I know there were definitely some merits to the Cultural Revolution. I don't think Mao killed 60 million fucking people thing is relevant or valid in criticizing the Cultural Revolution, but there were definitely deaths and there were definitely issues in how it was applied. So I think it could have been done better, but it was still at least on a certain level a necessity. It could have been done in a way that didn't try to completely erase traditional Chinese culture. It could have still had that value while expressing the development of man, the development of people in general, right? So, I like Mao. I like his writings that I've read. I like studying how Mao and his policies really improved life for people in China. But the Cultural Revolution is one of those gray areas where it's like, yeah, there were some improvements, and the shift in culture, at least to some degree, is necessary. But I don't think they needed to go about as extremely as they did, if that makes sense. Okay, PLK's last question and the last question of the Q&A. Do you think protracted People's War is feasible in the United States? Again, this kind of goes with the question that Eli or Ellie, whatever their name is, asked earlier. I believe some form of revolution is feasible in the U.S., and maybe People's War is a part of that. Like I said, I think there needs to be a hybrid of fucking militancy and electoralism. So I think protracted People's War could fit in that thing. I know there's a lot of, I mean, I've read at least parts of Mao's on guerrilla warfare. I know there's a lot of study of urban guerrilla warfare, and with the U.S. being largely urban, at least, or at least a lot of the major focal points of the country being urban, big cities, and that kind of shit, I think it could be implemented at least in some form. I haven't studied a lot of protracted People's War, so my approach, my understanding of it very well could be wrong, but I feel like it could in some way, shape, or form be implemented. Maybe not, like I said before, maybe not immediately, maybe down the road in 30, 40, 50 years, but yeah, maybe it could. I'm no expert on that thing. But for all I know, protracted People's War could be very feasible and very necessary in the struggle for socialism in the United States. I hope that suffices. I'm not really majorly educated on People's War and whatnot. That is going to do it for this video. Thank all of you for asking questions. I appreciate people asking questions. Maybe next time I do a Q&A, we can get some more people involved, but I got a decent amount of questions, so I had a lot to work with, and I'm just happy to have that. So, yeah, thank you for asking questions, and I was very happy to answer them. I figure in the next couple of weeks, I will be doing the live stream I said that I was going to do, so if you want to ask me more questions there or just have a general dialogue there, that'll be nice. So if you want to check that out, I'll make sure I have that scheduled so that it's not just a random, hey, look, I'm live streaming, that kind of deal. I'm still working on my big academic project. That's coming along nicely. I do have a little mini collaboration worked in there with somebody, so I hope that excites people. And like I said earlier, at the end of the month, I am having a discussion with Yanis Iqbal, a comrade from India, and I think that's going to be very interesting. I am very much looking forward to discussing Venezuela and imperialism and whatnot with him. I think that's going to be very interesting, and I hope that interests you. All right, that is going to about do it. Like I said before, thank you all for asking questions. Check out the projects that are going to be coming up. I have a lot coming up, though, so hopefully that excites you. And that is about it. If you like what I do, be sure to subscribe, like the videos, comment, share them around. If you want to support me further, you can donate on Buy Me a Coffee. You can either do a one-time donation or you can join a membership. That is about it. I will see you next time. My name is Jimmy. Thank you for watching.